Welcome to my channel Book2Fluent. Do you watch English videos every day but still feel stuck when you try to speak? You understand a little, but your mouth becomes silent when it matters. Today I will show you my real daily English routine that actually works, even if you are a complete beginner. Comment below, do you have this problem? Chapter 1. The day I realized learning was not enough. I still remember that feeling very clearly. Every day I was watching English videos, listening to lessons, reading small texts, and telling myself that I was learning. I felt busy, I felt like I was doing something important, but deep inside, something was not changing. One day, someone asked me a very simple question in English. It was not difficult, it was something I had already learned many times. But in that moment, my mind became blank. My heart started beating fast and my mouth stayed silent. I knew the words, but I could not use them. That moment was painful, not because the question was hard, but because I realized something shocking. I was learning English, but I could not speak English. That day, I went back home and started thinking deeply. I asked myself a very honest question. What am I really doing every day? Am I learning, or am I just watching others learn? I started to see the truth that most learners never see. I was collecting information, but I was not using it. My brain was full of words, rules, and examples, but my mouth had no practice. I was like someone who reads about swimming every day, but never enters the water. I understood everything in theory, but in real life, I could not move. At that moment, I felt frustrated. I felt like I had wasted my time. Maybe you have felt this too. You sit for hours, you watch videos, you understand a little, and you feel happy for a moment. But when it is time to speak, everything disappears. You feel nervous, you feel slow, and sometimes you feel like you know nothing. This is not because you are weak. This is because your method is not complete. This is the truth that changed everything for me. I slowly started to understand something very powerful. Learning is not the same as using. Watching is not the same as speaking. Listening is not the same as expressing. These are different skills, and if you only focus on learning, your speaking will always stay weak. That was my biggest mistake. I thought if I learn more, I will speak better, but the opposite was happening. The more I learned, the more I overthought. The more I overthought, the more I became silent. That night, I made a simple but life-changing decision. I decided that from tomorrow, I will stop being only a learner. I will become a user of English. I will not wait to feel ready. I will not wait to be perfect. I will start using the English I already know, even if it is very small, even if it is broken, even if it is not correct, because I understood something important. A small sentence that you speak is more powerful than 100 sentences that you only understand. The next day I tried something new. When I woke up, I did not open any video. I did not read any lesson. I simply looked around and tried to say something in English. Very small, very simple. I said, I am awake. Then I said, I feel sleepy. Then I looked at the window and said, it is morning. These sentences were very easy, maybe even too easy, but something inside me started to change. For the first time, I was not just understanding English, I was using it. It felt strange at first, a little uncomfortable, but also exciting. In that moment, I realized something very deep. English is not something you learn once and then use later. English grows when you use it every day. It becomes stronger when you speak, even in small ways. I started to feel that English is not outside me. It is inside me, waiting to come out. And the only way to bring it out is by using it again and again. I also understood why I was stuck before. I was waiting for confidence. I was waiting to feel ready. But confidence does not come before speaking. Confidence comes after speaking. It is built step by step, word by word, sentence by sentence. If you wait for confidence, you will wait forever. But if you start speaking even with fear, confidence will slowly follow you. This realization was not just a small idea. It changed the way I saw learning forever. I stopped chasing big lessons and started focusing on small actions. I stopped asking, how much did I learn today? And started asking, How much did I use today? That one question changed everything. From that day, my routine became different. It was not about sitting for long hours. It was not about difficult grammar or big vocabulary. It was about small moments in my day. Moments where I could think, speak, and feel English in a natural way. And slowly, day by day, something beautiful started to happen. English stopped feeling like a subject and it started feeling like a part of my life. And here is something very important that I want you to understand. You do not need to know everything to start. You do not need perfect grammar. You do not need a big vocabulary. You only need the courage to use what you already know, even if it is just 5 words, even if it is just one sentence. Because that small start is more powerful than endless wait. That was the day I realized that learning was not enough. And that was the day my real English journey began. Chapter 2. My morning routine. The first 10 minutes that changed everything. The biggest change in my English journey did not come from a book or a long study session. It came from something very small, something very simple, something most people ignore every day. It came from the first 10 minutes of my morning. Before this, my mornings were normal. I would wake up, check my phone, maybe watch a video, and tell myself that I would practice English later. But later never came. And even when it came, I felt tired, distracted, and not ready. So one day, I decided to change only one thing. I decided to give my first 10 minutes to English. When I woke up the next morning, I did not touch my phone. I did not open any app. I simply sat on my bed, took a deep breath, and started thinking in English. Not big sentences, not perfect sentences, just very small and easy thoughts. I said in my mind, I am awake. Then I said, I feel sleepy. Then I looked around my room and said, this is my room. These sentences were very simple, maybe even childish, but they were powerful. Because for the first time, I was not translating. I was directly thinking in English. At first, it felt slow. My mind wanted to go back to my native language. It was trying to translate everything. But I gently stopped myself and came back to simple English. I did not fight with my brain. I guided it slowly. I told myself that it is okay to be slow. It is okay to make mistakes. The goal is not to be perfect. The goal is to start. Then I added one more step. I started speaking softly. Not loudly, not in front of anyone, just quietly to myself. I said, I am standing, I am walking, I am brushing my teeth. I was describing my actions in real time. This felt a little strange in the beginning. I even smiled at myself because it felt funny. But something beautiful was happening. My brain and my mouth were starting to work together. You see, most learners only train their brain. They understand words, they recognize sentences, but they never train their mouth. So when the time comes to speak, the brain knows, but the mouth cannot move. This small morning habit solved that problem for me. It connected my thoughts with my voice. There was another powerful change happening at the same time. My fear was going down. Because I was not speaking to people, I was speaking to myself. There was no pressure, no judgment, no fear of mistakes. It was just me and my voice. This made me feel safe. And when you feel safe, you try more. When you try more, you improve more. Slowly, day by day, these 10 minutes became my favorite part of the day. I did not need motivation anymore. It became a habit. Just like brushing my teeth, I started using English every morning without thinking. And because I started my day with English, something interesting happened. My mind stayed in English for a longer time. Even after those 10 minutes, I found myself thinking small English sentences during the day. This is something very important that most learners do not understand. The first thing you do in your day controls your mind. If you start your day with your native language, your brain stays in that language. But if you start your day with English, even in a small way, your brain slowly starts accepting English as normal. That is the secret. I also stopped worrying about grammar during this time. Before, I used to think, is this correct? Is this the right tense? But now, I focused only on expression. I told myself that mistakes are not my enemy. Silence is my enemy. So I chose to speak, even if it was wrong. And slowly, without studying rules, my sentences started becoming better. One day, I noticed something amazing. I woke up, and without thinking, a sentence came into my mind in English. It was natural, it was automatic. I did not translate it, I did not force it. It just came. That was the moment I realized that my brain was changing. English was becoming a part of my thinking. This routine is not long. It is not difficult. It does not need any special material. It only needs your attention and your honesty. Just 10 minutes. But these 10 minutes can change your entire learning journey because they build something very important. They build connection. Connection between your thoughts and your voice. Connection between your daily life and English. And here is something very powerful that I want you to feel. You do not need a perfect morning. You do not need a long routine. You only need a small start. Even if you feel sleepy, even if you feel lazy, just say one sentence. Just say, I am awake. That one sentence is your beginning. Most people ignore this step. They jump directly to videos, grammar, and exercises. And that is why they stay stuck. Because they never build the habit of using English from inside. But you are different. You are now starting your day with English. And that small change will slowly create a big transformation. This is how my morning routine began. Simple, quiet, and powerful. And this was only the beginning. Chapter 3: The 3-sentence speaking habit that built my confidence. After I fixed my morning, something inside me started to wake up. But I still had one problem. I could think a little in English, I could say small sentences, but when I tried to speak more, I got stuck again. My mind started running too fast. I tried to say big sentences, and then everything broke. I felt confused again. That is when I discovered something very simple but very powerful. I did not need long conversations. I did not need perfect English. I only needed 3 sentences. At first, this idea looked too small. I even thought, can this really help me? But I decided to try it honestly. I gave myself one rule. Every time I practice speaking, I will only say 3 sentences. Not more, not less, just 3. And those sentences must be about something real in my life. Something I can see, feel, or do. So I started with very simple things. I picked up a cup of tea and said, I am drinking tea. It is hot. I like it. That was all. 3 sentences. Then I looked at the weather and said, today is sunny. The sky is clear. I feel good. Again, only 3 sentences. It felt easy. It felt possible. And that is where the magic started. Before this, my biggest mistake was trying to say too much. I wanted to speak like an advanced learner, but I was still a beginner. That created pressure. That created fear. But when I limited myself to just 3 sentences, my mind became calm. I did not feel pressure anymore. I knew I could do this. And when you feel that something is possible, you start doing it more. This small habit started building my confidence in a very natural way. Every time I completed my 3 sentences, I felt a small win. It was not a big success, but it was real. And these small wins started adding up. 1 day, 2 days, 1 week, 2 weeks. Slowly, I stopped feeling afraid of speaking. There was another powerful change happening. My sentences started becoming faster. At first, I needed time to think. I paused a lot. But because I was repeating this habit every day, my brain started remembering patterns. It started understanding how sentences work. Without studying grammar, I was learning structure. Without memorizing rules, I was building flow. I also noticed something very interesting. Sometimes, after speaking 3 sentences, I wanted to say more. My mind was ready, but I still stopped at 3. Why? Because this created hunger. It made me excited for the next practice. Instead of feeling tired, I felt motivated. I wanted to come back again and speak more. This is something very deep about learning. When you do too much, you feel tired and stop. But when you do just enough, you feel good and continue. That is why this 3-sentence habit worked so well for me. It was small, but it was consistent. Then I made it a little stronger. I started repeating the same sentences in different moments. For example, if I said, "I am walking," "I feel tired," "I want water," I would repeat this again later when I walked again. This repetition made my speaking automatic. I did not need to think again and again. The sentence was already inside me. Slowly, something beautiful started happening. Those 3 sentences became 4, then 5. But I did not force it. It came naturally. My brain was ready because I gave it time and practice. I did not push myself. I allowed myself to grow. One day, I realized that I was speaking without fear. Not perfect English, not big English, but real English. I could express my thoughts. I could say what I feel. And that feeling was powerful. It was the first time I felt that English is not something far away. It is something I can use. And here is something I want you to understand very clearly. Confidence does not come from knowing many words. Confidence comes from using the words you already know. Even if you know only 20 words, you can make many sentences. You can express many ideas. The problem is not your knowledge. The problem is your usage. This 3-sentence habit changed that for me. It forced me to use my English every day. It removed my fear. It gave me control. And most importantly, it made me believe in myself. Maybe right now you are thinking, this is too simple. This cannot help me. But let me tell you something honestly. Simple things work when you do them daily. Difficult things fail when you stop doing them. This habit is not about difficulty. It is about consistency. So start with 3 sentences. Not tomorrow, not later, but today. Pick anything around you. Your room, your food, your feelings, and speak. Just 3 sentences. That is all. That is your step forward. Because in the end, fluency is not built in one day. It is built in small moments, repeated again and again. And this habit is one of those moments that can change everything. Chapter 4. Listening like a child. My daily input secret. After I started speaking every day, I felt stronger, but something was still missing. I could say small sentences, I could express simple thoughts, but when I listened to English, I still felt lost sometimes. I tried to understand every word, every sentence, every detail, and that made me tired. My brain was working too hard, and slowly, I started losing interest. That is when I realized another truth. I was listening in the wrong way. Before this, I believed that listening means understanding everything. If I missed one word, I felt like I failed. If I did not understand the full sentence, I stopped and repeated again and again. This made listening slow and stressful. But then I changed my approach completely. I decided to listen like a child. Think about how a child learns a language. A child does not understand every word. A child does not stop and ask for grammar. A child listens again and again, and slowly the brain starts connecting sounds with meaning. There is no pressure, there is no fear, there is only repetition and feeling. That is exactly what I started doing. Every day, I chose very simple English content. Not fast, not difficult, just easy and clear. Sometimes short stories, sometimes slow conversations. And I made one rule for myself. I will not try to understand everything. I will just listen and feel the language. I focused on the sound, the rhythm, the way sentences move. At first, it felt strange. My mind was still trying to catch every word. It was saying, "You are missing something." But I relaxed myself. I told my brain, "It is okay. You do not need to understand everything. Just listen. Just stay with the sound." And slowly, I started enjoying listening again. Then I added something very powerful to my routine. I started repeating what I heard. Not perfectly, not exactly, but as close as I could. This is called shadowing, but I did not think about the name. I just copied what I heard. If the speaker said, "I am going to the market," I repeated, "I am going to the market," again and again. This simple act changed everything. Because now, I was not only listening, I was speaking at the same time. My ears and my mouth started working together. I started noticing pronunciation. I started feeling the flow of sentences. Without studying any rules, my speaking became smoother. There was a moment I will never forget. One day, I was listening to a simple story, and suddenly, I understood a full sentence without thinking. It was automatic. I did not translate it. I did not break it into parts. I just understood it. That moment gave me so much confidence. It showed me that my brain was learning in a natural way. I also stopped using difficult content. Before, I used to watch fast videos, advanced lessons, and complicated topics. I thought that difficult content will make me better, but it only made me tired. Now, I stayed with simple English. And because it was simple, I could repeat it many times. Repetition became my strength. Another thing I changed was how I used my time. I did not sit for long hours. I used small moments. While walking, I listened. While sitting, I listened. Even for 5 minutes, I listened. And these small moments added up. My brain started getting used to English sound every day. This is something very important. Your brain learns through frequency, not through pressure. If you listen once for 1 hour, it is good. But if you listen many times for 5 minutes, it is even better. Because your brain sees English again and again, and slowly it becomes normal. I also allowed myself to enjoy the process. I did not treat listening like a test. I treated it like music. Sometimes I smiled while listening. Sometimes I repeated a sentence many times because I liked how it sounded. This made my learning emotional, not just logical. And when learning becomes emotional, it becomes powerful. Slowly, English started feeling natural. I was not afraid of listening anymore. I was not trying to control everything. I was allowing the language to enter my mind in a simple and easy way. And here is something I want you to remember. You do not need to understand everything to improve. You need to stay connected with the language. Even if you understand 50%, it is enough. The rest will come with time. Most learners make this mistake. They stop listening because they do not understand. But you should do the opposite. Continue listening, even if you understand less, because understanding grows slowly. It does not come in one day. This method changed my listening completely. It removed pressure, it increased enjoyment, and most importantly, it connected listening with speaking. Because now, when I listened, I also spoke. When I spoke, I remembered what I heard. This is how English becomes a part of you. Not by forcing, but by repeating. Not by fear, but by feeling. And this simple daily input became one of the strongest parts of my routine. Chapter 5. My Night Routine. How I Lock English into My Brain. At the end of the day, when everything becomes quiet, when the noise of the world goes down, that is where something very powerful begins. Before, my nights were simple and empty. I used my phone, watched random videos, and slept without thinking about my day. But after changing my routine, I understood something very important. The way you end your day decides what your brain remembers. And if you use this time correctly, your English can grow even while you sleep. So I created a very simple night routine. Not long, not difficult, just a few minutes before sleeping. I would sit quietly and think about my day in English. Not big stories, not perfect sentences, just small, real thoughts. I would say, today I woke up early. I practiced English. I felt good. These sentences were simple, but they were powerful because they were real. They were my life. At first it felt slow. I needed time to remember my day and convert it into English. Sometimes I forgot words. Sometimes I made mistakes. But I did not stop. I reminded myself that this is not a test. This is practice. And slowly, my mind started getting faster. It became easier to think about my day in English. Then I added one more step. I started writing these thoughts in a small notebook. Not a perfect diary, not long pages, just 2 or 3 lines. This became my English diary. Some days I wrote, I am tired today. I worked a lot. I am learning English. Other days I wrote, I watched a video. I understood many words. I feel happy. These small lines became very special to me. Writing did something different. It slowed my thinking and made it clear. It showed me my mistakes, but in a gentle way. I was not afraid of my mistakes anymore. I was learning from them without pressure. And when I wrote every day, I started thinking more clearly in English. After writing, I did one more simple thing. I spoke to myself for 1 or 2 minutes. Not loudly, not like a speech, just a soft conversation with myself. I would say, today was a good day. I learned something new. Tomorrow I will try again. This moment felt very personal. It was just me and my thoughts. No fear, no judgment. This small habit created a deep connection with English. It was not just a language anymore. It became a part of my emotions. When I felt happy, I used English. When I felt tired, I used English. When I reflected on my day, I used English. And this is where the real transformation happened. One day, I noticed something beautiful. I was lying in bed, and English thoughts started coming into my mind naturally. I was not trying, I was not forcing. It just happened. That was the moment I realized that English was becoming a part of my brain. This night routine also helped me remember everything better. When you review your day, your brain organizes information. It connects your experiences with words. It stores them in a stronger way. So the next day, when you try to speak, those words come faster. Another powerful thing about this routine is that it gives you peace. You are not rushing, you are not stressed, you are simply reflecting. And when learning becomes peaceful, it becomes stronger. Most people ignore the night. They think learning only happens in the morning or during study time. But the truth is, your brain is very active before sleep. It is the best time to gently repeat what you learned. Even a few sentences can make a big difference. And here is something very important for you. You do not need to write perfectly. You do not need to speak perfectly. You only need to be honest. Speak about your real day. Write your real thoughts. Because real language is always easier than perfect language. Slowly, day by day, this routine changed me. I was not just practicing English. I was living it from morning to night. My day started with English, and it ended with English. And in between, I used English in small moments. That is the secret. Not long hours, not difficult lessons, but simple daily habits. Morning thinking, small speaking, listening with feeling, and night reflection. These small actions came together and created something big. And now I want you to see yourself in this story. You do not need to be perfect. You do not need to wait. You can start tonight. Before you sleep, just say 3 sentences about your day. Just write 2 lines. Just speak for 1 minute. Because this is not just a routine. This is a new way of living English. And once you start living it, you will never feel stuck again. If you stayed with me till the end, then you are not just watching, you are ready to change your English. Start your routine today, even if it is just 5 minutes. Comment below I started today so I can see your commitment. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, and let's grow together every single day. Thanks for watching. I will see you soon in the next video.